respectively to their finishing placing.
Power-ups available will have an equal probability of 25%, with the arrow, invisibility, burrito, and draft awarded at each arch along the route. There's 5 opportunities in total.
Now, here comes the question. What is the strategy here? We have seen races where a team can keep sweeping up points and dominate, but that can't happen in this race. The teams need to think of where and when to go for it, and possibly be ready to back out. We might even see some riders faking a sprint to draw another team into a challenge, only to eliminate them. Another strategy here might be that a team goes all out at the start, takes the points on the first 2 sprints, and the top place on the 3rd sprint, securing 9 points. Those 5 riders could sit back, enjoy the broadcast, knowing they have 9 points out of the 59 available, which could be enough to win in this format.
We are really stepping into the unknown here, and it is the type of format which could be run again and again with different outcomes. The team managers might be the stars of the race today, working out what to do next in the background as they'll be guiding their riders on when to go and when to hold back. I can't wait for this. We are closing in on the start time of the race, so let's take a look at who will be racing today.
If you've been with us for a few weeks, this will be a familiar sight, these teams. If not, here are the teams that are racing in the Zwift Grand Prix for the men. Abus Lacole is out there. Team Arrow coming out of Australia. Coalition Alpha. Hexagon presented by Saris. Callus ESRT presented by Wahoo Burt. Movistar E-Team, Next Esport presented by Insured. Team Castelli presented by Elite. It's Team Swedish Swifters, Toyota Priority T, Velocio, and Wahoo Lacole.
All right, we are at the midpoint of the season now. Let's take a look at the table after 3 of 6 races. 55 points. They've been on a roll. Looking at Next Esport, presented by Insured, on top of the table. It's a long way to go, though, still, and Wahoo Lacole is right in the mix with 52 points, sitting in second. Abus Lacole in third, only 1 point back. It is extremely close in that top 3, and make it the top 4, as Coalition Alpha, after a great ride last week, is sitting now in fourth, and they're looking to do more damage out here today. Toyota Cryo RDT sitting on 26 points. That's 2 points ahead of Movistar. Both of those teams are going to be looking for big gains out here today. Let's see if their esports experience will pay off. 7th now, you drop down to 16 points here for Team Castelli, presented by Elite. But after the Continental qualifiers, they should have some wind in their sails here. Kalish Esport is only 2 points behind them. The Norwegians in 8th. Velocio looking to crack into double digits and see if they can get on a roll here. Sitting in 9th. Hexagon, the French-based team presented by Saris, in 10th. Team Swedish Swifters in 11th. And Arrow still looking to get up on the scoreboard. So that's a good look at where things stand right now. It really ultimately comes down to the gladiators in the arena. That's our athletes here. We're so excited to see what happens today, Nathan. Let's take a look at said athletes.
And let's take a look at the team lineups that we have taking on the men's series today. It is Abus Lacole, the first we're going to look at, with David De Schmet, followed up by Leonard Tugels. One of the qualifiers over the weekend, Joe Perot, making the Belgian Worlds team. Matthias de Roos is out there as well. Be on the watch out for him on an uphill sprint, perhaps. And Stefan Van Elst is going to finalize that roster.
Thank you, Nathan. Let's jump right in and take a look at the all-Australian Aero team here with Torben Partridge-Madsen leading the squad. Josh Harris, also congratulations for making the World's team. Mark Bolstead, Nick Squillari, Squilly the Kid in full effect with Ben Hill. That's the Aero team. Nathan, this is a squad that's potent. They're going to have a big day out here. Let's see if it's today.
Next up, it's going to be Coalition Alpha, and it's Ollie Jones. Is he going to be making some of those moves we saw all over the weekend? We saw a huge breakaway from him. Is he going to bring that similar power? The big sprinter, Spencer Sagerbrook, Zhao Power, Gary Mueller, and none other than the Duck himself, Lionel Viasin, looking to come back from the qualifiers this weekend for a better result.
All right, let's turn the page and take a look at Hexagon, presented by Saris, and some of the Turkish riders on this team. A couple brothers on the squad. Kan Kayan, will lead the way here with Sebastian Hevo. Michael Plantereau, who's been very strong lately. Jeff Romeo, a rider to watch. And then there's the other half of that brother combo from Turkey, Berk Kayan. Good luck today to Hexagon, presented by Saris.
Then there is Callis ESRT, presented by Wahoo Berg. They're going to be led out by Simon Nielsen. There's also going to be Simon Nordal Svensson. The longtime Zwifter Alexi Kalman is out there, followed by Harvard Geldings and Martin Roste Omdahl. Very, very experienced squad. Be on the watch out for your RT to be grabbing some points out there today.
That'll be an interesting to watch, Nathan. So will Movistar E-Team. This is a strong squad with the Norwegian Vidar Mel, Daniel Gould, Martin Lindqvist, Samuel Brandlund, and Henrik Euger making up this squad. This team in blue, Nathan, they don't miss a step. So watch for them to play their cards right out there on a challenging day of racing.
And the top spot right now held by Next Esport, presented by Insured. We saw Brian Duffy on Marula Mapul take down an amazing sprint. Then it's going to be Daniel Turek, followed up by the ever-popular streamer who is James Barnes, known as Barney. Jay Brune is out there, also one of their top sprinters. Watch out for him to take some big points. And the breakaway specialist himself, Zach Neer, who might be pushing the pressure on the front.
All right, now we see Team Castelli presented by Elite with Davide Fumagalli there. This white jersey will be in full effect today. Ewan Mackey, another rider to watch. Luca Zanasca will be in our field along with Riccardo Panizza and Matteo Gaffuri. Watch out for the Italian Azzurri.
Long time, one of the longest standing esports team actually, Team Swedish Zwifters, also known as SZRs, being led out by Martin Harburg. Then there is Matthias Svensson, Olaf Alfstrom, Johan Noren, and Henry Almqvist are going to be in the white, blue, and a little bit of neon yellow accents in there for Team SZR, Team Swedish Zwifters.
All right, thank you, Nathan. Now here is one of the OG squads, unfortunately starting with 4 today. I still think that they're in with a chance. It's going to be Bart van den Ekut, Eddie Uhl, the South African there, Joachim Lisson. What a potent force he is, along with Martin Mertens. This is a team that doesn't have a weak link, Toyota Cryo RDT.
And coming out of North America mainly squad, it is going to be led out by Dan Jamrozic. It is Velocio. Good to see Jammers out here today. Charles McCarthy's here as well as Jason Frank, Ryan Atkins, and Yumito Shigahara. That is Team Velocio in the neon yellow.
All right, now we have Wahoo Lacole here with Chris Dawson out of Northern Ireland. Mighty Depo Lorio, the Finnish star, joined by Warren Mir, Adrian Alvarado, and Jan Steinman. This team has been phenomenal in the first half of the season. They are a big threat to take the overall Zwift Grand Prix. No doubt about that, Nathan.
Well, it's quite the star-studded field out there today, but top picks to be watching out for, Dave. I'm going to go with Coalition Alpha. Are really going to want to boost their results. They're sitting in 4th place, just off that podium spot for the team. Be on the watch out, I think, for Spencer Sagerbrook as well as Lionel Viasen. After the Continental Qualifiers, I think they're going to have a little bit of motivation to try and get some redemption in the Zwift Grand Prix, as they did not make a Worlds team, but I think they're going to be going for all-out Worlds-type efforts today.
Well, Nathan, on my end, I kind of spread it around a little bit. I'm looking at Brian Duffy Jr., remembering this is a team format, so I'm looking at who's going to get those monster points in the last couple of sprints. So I would be saving Brian Duffy Jr. if I'm next, that's for sure. Can't look back Simon Nordhall Svensson as well, the Norwegian on Kalish. And then a little extra spice, I have to say Leonard Tugels is going to score. 5, 6 points today, and that's about the most that you can take home.
Let's get right down into the racing as the riders take off. Again, it will be in the first 2 kilometers that the first rider will score points. It will be 1 point that's up for grabs. How are the teams going to play this out, you think, Dave? It's going to come up real quick.
Well, and there you go, Brad Guveris, another South African. I have a feeling Cryo might have found their 5th, actually. Let me do some research on that. Nathan, I would not roll the well, here's what's going to be so fun about this format. Do you try to send a rider up the road to grab this first point? It's not a long day of racing. Let's call it right around 40 minutes out here. But the most points a rider can pick up is in that 5th opportunity where 6 points are awarded. Even the final sprint has 5. So that's where I might put my key player. But Nathan, they're already galloping here as we're out on course. This is going to be such an interesting day of racing, and the attacks are coming. There goes Eddie Uhl.
Eddie Uhl, now here's a little bit of a over the top there coming from Gould, from Movistar E-Team there. Mueller's there as well. We're starting to see a lot of these team members that perhaps are going to take some early risks that might not be the top sprinters of these teams. This is what I was expecting of the strategy. Dave, we're going to save the big hitters for a little bit later for the big points. Risk some things early on with a rider like Bosted there. Are Arrow going to take some top points here? Here we go, though. It's just going to be 1 point up for grabs, and it's all on the line. Nielsen comes through, the Danish rider, at the last moment. Callis looks to grab the first point of the day.
Well, all right. What a cool format. So that eliminates that rider. So that's the reverse element of this. Once you pick up a point, you are done and dusted, and then can enjoy watching your teammates do the work, and certainly you'd be doing that with a lot of pride. So picking up a historic first point out here. That is Nielsen and Nathan. Now maybe a flurry of attacks coming. We're going to go back and take a look at a replay very quickly here. I'll throw it to you, Nathan, for the call.
Oh, yeah, Nielsen coming on through there. The timing was absolutely perfect. We did see a little bit of a gap there forming, but nobody's going to take advantage of that as everybody gets back together here. The next point they'll be looking forward to is the railway sprint. It's a little bit of an uphill into that railway sprint, actually, and then it leads out for quite a few meters. 2 riders are going to score 2 and 1 points. Things are definitely going to be raising the stakes as we go along here. We do see some power-ups being thrown down, a couple of ghosts there being used up, perhaps, as riders do not want to be thinking about using those later, so that's essentially binning those, I think, as nobody's making an attack right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that Temple KOM is, Nathan, the 4th sprint that they have is where I'm really looking for things to absolutely explode out here. The teams right now not keeping the cards close to the vest, but as you said, railway sprint up next, 2 and 1 points available. And those 2 riders, what's really interesting is you get the points, but then you leave the field. So that is such a tough call. A lot of talk about the director sportives and the jobs that they have to do. This is as challenging as it gets. I love this format. Boy, this is a guy who had a very successful ride over the weekend here in the Continental Qualifiers. The South African talent, Eddie Uhl, that we're in with now on the Cryo RDT team. Nathan, always been a favorite squad for many of our devout followers of esports.
Yeah, and as you see Eddie up, interesting riding style. They're always up and out of the saddle, it looks like here, smashing the pedals. Steady 257 to keep his position. Now I wonder what he's thinking about when it comes to the next sprint he may be taking on. As a rider perhaps that likes it to be a little bit more uphill as you head into any kind of a kick. Here's Brad Guveris, the South African, also Cryo RDT. Set up well toward the front. Does look like a lot of riders trying to position as best they can within the top 10 to 20 and not find themselves on the back too much. I think we have an attack, though, off the front now, as that's going to be an invisibility power-up coming from Barnes. Barney along with Euler now going.
You have to respect this, no doubt about it. These are 2 heavy hitters here. Well done with the power, remembering Arrow, Drab, Burrito, and you just saw how the invisibility can be very effective, attacking out of the group. Old school Fury right now. So Nathan, not a lot of points, but I tell you what, it's going to be 1 point that wins this one here today. So everything matters out here. And let's see what we've got. It's Squilly the Kid, Nick Squilari is there, the Australians. Arrow has really come out swinging today.
Yeah, with Euler off the front now, a little bit. Squilari's here. Barnes now. This is just, I think, a setup move for the rest of the team. Movistar comes flying on through. Ben Hill uses an invisibility power-up, disappearing for a second there. See if he can sneak off the front, but this is such a high-speed sprint. After they come over the top of this little bump, it does start to really ramp up into this 3%, 4% gradient now. They're within 655 meters. Watch the ramp up. It's going to most likely swarm in just a second here. But Hill's off the front. Guveris now trying to pull at the front of the main pack. Dave, this is getting interesting, as Ben Hill might have walked away with this one on this downhill.
Boy, the Australians came in hyper motivated today to make a mark, and clearly they're putting in a true blue effort. I love it, but this is one of the strongest men in the race. Lindqvist is coming, so the Swedes are trying to cover here as on the Movistar team, I should say, and he looks like he may have put this one in the bank, but you got to make the deposit at the teller. Is the bank still open? Because it looks like a charge is coming to you, Nathan.
Lindqvist takes it down. Guveris now. Looks like the rest of the pack sat up for that one. Was not as interested in the 1 and 2 points here. Is Ewan Mackey going over the top here from the Italian team? It looks like perhaps Mackey on the move.
Yeah, well, and the counterattack, it seemed like it was inevitable out here, Nathan, as this is a chance now to try to sneak away. But let's go back and take a look at that last sprint here.
Yeah, Lindqvist with the solid roll through there. Interesting that the pack did not chase this down. Not interested at all in these lower points, it looks like, after that first sprint. Lindqvist easily grabbing that with many, many meters between him and that second place there. Second place for Brad Guveris, grabbing 1 point. So 2 and 1. Those guys' job is done for the day. They don't have to think about grabbing any more points. They're just going to be cheering on their teammates as Mackey gets brought back into the peloton. All Grupo Compacto. He gets up out of the saddle for a moment. Look at I like the new average watts that we're seeing there. 698 watts there from Lindqvist throughout the duration of the sprint. Very cool to see that new addition to our graphics.
Well, when you make a deposit at the bank, as I was talking about, you want it to compound with interest. Well, if you look at it now, Nathan, if you'd won the alley sprint, our first sprint, and the railway sprint, the second, it still would only even you up with the man who's going to win the country sprint that's coming up. That's 3 points for the winner, 2 for second, and 1 for third. And then we make that quantum leap, folks, up to the Temple KOM, where lots of teams, Nathan, I would think, with 6 points there and 6 points at the finish, Tower Sprint Reverse, the 5th sprint, has less points than the 4th and the final. So I would think that you use one of your heavy hitters there on Temple KOM, but you got to get there first. This is the time to throw a rider at him out of the woodwork, right? Attack early. What do you think, Nathan? What's your strategy right now here in this really, really unique format? Country sprint coming up here in 4.3K.
Yeah, 4.3K to go now at this point. So if you do have anybody in, like Barney, here, as you can see, James Barnes making a little bit of move. If they get away with Teppo Lorio and a couple others, they might be able to just grab 3, 2, and 1. You get 3 riders off the front, maybe even 5, 6 riders off the front. You could be happy with letting something go. But you don't want to get too much of a leash on it, because the reality is only 3 of those riders are going to be eliminated from the race. So it's a game, a tactics game of how many you might allow to go ahead and save your other sprinters, save your other strongmen to try and take some later points. This country sprint is going to be one of the most interesting ones, I think, because of how far out it is. Also, Tempo KOM, as you were saying, and the Tower Sprint after that, those two, I think you're really going to see some major fights for that. 6, 4, 2, and 1 on that Tempo KOM. Being the largest take besides the finish line, I think that one's going to be the one where there's a ton of climbers showing up for that 6 points.
Well, James Barnes rolls the dice, and it comes up snake eyes. Nothing there. That's an interesting moment, because Barnes would have been a big threat. Now Van Elst goes. They're big names rolling off of the front here. This is going to be the Avis Lacole team that we're looking at, but now they've stopped giving any leash. The dynamic has changed, Nathan. These riders might roll out and pick up a second or two, but I don't think that peloton now is planning on giving any kind of extended leash. And there you go, another nice play here. It looks like an invisibility power-up is being used, and that is going to be Teppo Lorio. Teppo Lorio over the top, but what a reaction this is getting, Nathan. It is fireworks now.
Yeah, and Ollie Jones, this is somebody you really got to watch. 8.3 watts per kilogram off the front coming from him. And as he's watching everybody kind of settle down a little bit behind him in the main pack, you can see nobody's really making a chase. 8 watts per kilogram, this is a no-joke effort. You let Ollie Jones get too much of a leash and he will be absolutely gone. We already seen this once before in Rulamapul. This is how he qualified. He's off the front now. No points here. 3.1 kilometers to go still at this point. And now will this rider, who is an extreme ruler, I mean, he's got the power profile to stay away from even a group like this if he keeps this kind of pace up. 9 watts per kilogram. He knows he has to get the speed as high as possible right now because these are the moments this pack would bring him back.
I wasn't sure if you meant extreme ruler like Genghis Khan or like Eddie Merckx. I think you mean like Eddie Merckx because here we go.
A little bit of both.
This is
a little bit of both.
So this is a brutal. So how good was he this weekend at the Continental Qualifiers? Ollie Jones is platinum standard. This one's gone. Okay, here's my thought, Nathan. I know it's 2.5K till we get to the sprint. I would not use my resources now with the talent that Ollie. If they want to play this card, this is a joker. It wins every time, and I say let him go. If I'm on any, if I'm next from that perspective, Wahoo Cole's perspective, I'm not going to take the bait here. This is a trap.
Man, it's tough because now we do see Wahoo Cole heading to the front and a few others pushing 4 watts per kilogram at the front here. And I think Jones is actually backing off, seeing a little bit of the writing on the wall. The speeds with that pack, they're just so incredibly high. He was out to 5 seconds, but then we saw a quick little 6 watts per kilogram from Teppo Lorio there and just shut it down. If they would not have thrown those little bits on the front, but it was the amount of effort they had to throw on the front was so minuscule that it didn't really matter to do those little match efforts, and it brought back a massive amount of points actually that were just up for grabs for Ali if they did give him that. A couple extra, another half a K, I think Ali was gone, but no go. Vyasen now to the front, it looks like. We saw him earlier, now 7.7 watts per kilogram coming from Vyasen real quickly there. Interesting that he's ramping that up. I wonder if he's looking to set up someone else for a breakaway.
Nathan, I got to eat humble pie every now and then. I got to admit I'm wrong, but I thought that was going to be definitive enough that they wouldn't want to chase him back. It shows you how dynamic it is out here, how hard to predict it is out here, and how often I'm wrong, to tell you the truth. And that's what bike racing is all about, because there is so much going on, and it looks like Canyon's going to make another play. This time Lionel Vyasen, you think this one would be gone too, right, Nathan? I mean, come on. They're throwing some big names.
1,000 meters?
Jones now.
1,000 meters, Dave. 900 watts, and he's just 12 watts per kilogram. Aero power up. I mean, what's going on here? Yeah, Country Sprint is quite a ways out. That was an incorrect on there. Sorry about it on the board there. He's just on the full-on attack to get a breakaway, actually. And this is the kind of move, Dave. You take that roll-through speed. Now, Vyasen, he didn't set it up perfectly. He didn't go back to front with his roll-through speed, which I think he could have done that a little bit better, and he'd actually have 5, maybe even 7 seconds at this point. But he's got enough that the chase is coming on, and now you do see the entire pack really responding.
We're out here on McCurry Islands chasing the sun. This is such a cool course that we're racing on, and Lionel Vyasen is really flipping the script right now. So that's going to be Panizza. The Italians have been all over the front of this bike race. Van Elst and Van Heet. So two of the Avis LaCole riders now leading the chase. This is crazy out here, Nathan. And we've still got more than 2/3 of this race. And to be fair, the lion's share of points are still up the road. The minor players in this Shakespearean drama have already exited stage left. Now only heavy hitters need apply as we enter downtown Payne City. And even Lionel Vyasen cannot hold off this group. These hungry wolves, in the mouth of the wolf right now goes Lionel Vyasen. Buca de Beppo.
Oh, I feel bad. I feel bad for Lionel there, but there is going to be a counter here, and this is Coalition. I said that they were going to take it to him, and they are. The prediction was that they were looking for some redemption after the weekend, and here goes Ollie Jones with that counter attack over the top of what Lionel Via just set up. Now, this is a danger move. You get Ollie Jones and Zach Neer from Next Esports off the front together. These are the major breakaway specialists. I'm not sure that you've seen 2 breakaway specialists in the world of Zwift racing at this kind of level. These 2 are the level when it comes to breakaways. If they get away, this is over, Dave.
Yeah, and so this is where the combining of your efforts, that symbiotic relationship, really comes into play in real life racing. But bam! they cover that. This is just cover and kill, but maybe it's not the entire peloton that's going to get up there. We've got 5 riders to the front as Eddie Uhl is up there. So Jones lit the fuse, but it comes Hardenberg. It looks like one by one they're coming across. Eddie Uhl to the front. So the South African has put the accelerator down on the floorboard, and he's just going to duct tape it there. He's going to try to pick up maximum points, Nathan. This is just all over the place as we swoop into the arcade.
Yeah, and as we come into the arcade here, Eddie Uhl off the front here. Interesting enough, where's the rest of the group at this point? The response, it looks like no longer there. As you can see, there it is. Now the pack is back on him through the arcade. The drafting's a little bit more difficult through here. Everything has been covered at this point. Will there be any more counters? It was Coalition Alpha who continued to counter and counter. Barnes is off the front, though. Good call there, Dave. 7.3.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Barnes is one of the guys. I mean, there's 20 guys that can do this. It's just, do you want to use them now? This is, I mean, all of these teams have got a fat bank account, but they've got a stingy payroll department. They don't want to spend their money too early out here, and that's going to be coming over the top is Fumagalli. Fumagalli here for the Italians. They really are a strong team, Nathan. It just haven't quite gone their way so far. Can Fumagalli make a big play and grab some monster points here in the mid part of this points elimination reverse? You get your points and you go home. That's going to be Barnes, though, mixing it up. Nathan, these two are going to be pretty potent as well here.
There we go. Now we have a count there down to the country sprint. For a moment there, I was wondering if the peloton was lost out on course. 4.8 watts per kilogram, as you can see. Barnes, Fumagalli right on his wheel, and the attacks are coming left and right. I absolutely love this, Dave. And this is where the point structure is actually playing out amazingly. I had questions in my head how the pack would play this, but because there's so much up for grabs, it is super encouragement for riders to try and get away and then exit the race with these points that are going to be coming up ahead. If they get this breakaway, Dave, they'll be able to just grab their points and pull from it. Movistar E-Team, Callis Esports, Crowd ET, those are the only ones that have scored, but now we see other teams making the way to the front.
Yeah, I mean, just shut it down, shut it down. Sounds like a Public Enemy song right now. Let's look at the round points here, Nathan. Movistar on top, but this is so minuscule because we're going to have a point coming up at the Temple that's more than all the points we've distributed so far. I love this format. Movistar with 2. I mean, let's be honest, getting out there and picking up some points is great, just as long as you didn't use your best riders doing it. Toyota Cryo's got 1. Kalish Esport has 1 again. Movistar on top of the table, too. Nathan, you've talked a lot about Spencer Segerbrook here. He's been a rider to watch. He's back at it now. It looks like he might be committing for the 3 points waiting at Country Sprint, 3.8K away. What do you think? It's a big player to use at this point in the game.
I'm actually extremely surprised to be Segerbrook off the front here at this point, because this is the thing. Coalition just continue to throw everything they possibly have at this race right now, and they're even sacrificing one of their biggest sprinters, this is interesting, but I have a feeling that this is what we're going to see from them over and over and over again, just aggression after aggression. They're going to stop sitting in with it, and I think this race format is encouraging this kind of movement within the pack. Now, the other thing is these risks that we're seeing Next make these risks. We're seeing a little bit here, obviously a lot here from Coalition Alpha. We've seen Crowd ET go off the front, a little bit from Team Italy as well. But there's other teams that are playing it very cool and calm, Dave. I haven't seen a whole lot from, obviously, Velocio, and now we got another attack off the front. We see Viasen. Coalition, again and again. Is this going to pay off? Because we got riders like Amos Lecole and Leonard Tugel still sitting in the pack, but if these riders go up the road, LeBrun as well, it might already be done for some of these points.
The team that I'm saying don't sleep on, Nathan, is Wahoo Lecole. When they come, it's going to be old school fury. I mean, there are so many points still waiting for these riders. It's going to be Lionel Viasen, the Duck, out of Belgium going, and now Jay Brun, another one of the high caliber riders. And this is where Next is going to start bringing out the heavy artillery. This is blowing the group up. Body blow after body blow. What a format. This is going to very quickly become one of our favorite formats out here. Is John Brun, now the American here on Next. Mostly North Americans on that squad. Is he going to be combining efforts with the Belgian Lionel Viasen? And yes, they are, Nathan. These two are hitching their trains together as they go 2.3K now from Country Sprint. There's 3 and 2 points available for these two if they can hold on, but that's a big if. Back to you, Nathan Guerra.
Yeah, it's a big if because Harburg from Team Zwifters looking to come across. Geldings is there as well, and it looks like Noren and Tugans do not want this to get away. Leonard Tugels is actually taking the poles at the front right now for Avis Lecole. Completely out of character for what I thought was going to be happening there for Tugels. I thought Tugels would be saving everything for later in the race. What is he doing? Is he setting up David Smet? Is he setting up DeRoos? I'm not sure what's happening here with Avis Lecole, sacrificing a lot of matches of one of their star riders, but they obviously have really worried. The alarm bells were going off because the Austin the Duck, as well as Jay Broom, one of the top sprinters in the world, were off the front. And now it's all back together, Dave. I absolutely love what we're seeing here. This format has brought everything to the table.
I cannot believe how strong this group is to be able to hit the reset button over and over, Nathan. And also, McCurry Islands, 10 out of 10. Would race again. That's Jambrozic with the Ghost, although it looks like he's just going to go back into the group here. Is Astrom going clear? Nathan, very quickly, I'm looking at some riders who make unbelievable watts, like Martin Lindqvist at 17.7 for 15 seconds. Simon Nordhaus Svensson at 16.5 watts for 15 seconds. These are huge numbers. I mean, out of this world numbers. How about Joachim Leeson or Brian Duffy Jr.? These guys, I think, are waiting for that final sprint, to tell you the truth. There's just huge amounts of power in this group. And at this point now, I wonder if we're going to say, oh boy, coming out of the middle, that's going to be Movistar. Look at this move from Movistar here, Nathan.
Movistar with an arrow. That's going to be their extremely aggressive rider so far. Euler now. Euler off the front with an arrow power. He's got a big gap. He's 1K attack. 1K attack. He's getting the response there from Miller. Geldings is there as well. The pack is definitely not responding at the same kind of speed. This kind of speed, this kind of effort at a continual 11 watts per kilogram all in, I think that these three riders most likely have it. Almdale's now on the front there for Callis Esports, and then as well as Svensson and Gould from Movistar. They are starting to think that they may have missed out on these points. Euler now getting right on the wheel here, Dave. Are they going to be able to hold on 500 meters to the line? I think they've done it.
Yeah, Hexagon rider Jeffrey Miller. Oh, ooh la la, as they say. Is he going to be able to hold on? We're going to be looking now. Euler clearly, and now we see the Turkish rider, Kan Kayan, getting up there. But the peloton's not done. The peloton's not done. And oh my goodness, Wahoo Lecole, this is huge here. And WLC coming through. Warren Mir for the top points.
Mir with the solid attack, waiting patiently for top points out there, followed up by Kayan. It's going to be Miller there coming in for third. 3, 2, and 1. And now those three will exit the race after grabbing those points. Look at the speed coming through on the country sprint there, Dave. They waited. The early attacks with 1K to go, it looked like it may have been holding on, but no, the pack speed was just too much, and that intensity coming through was so intense from the main pack. Mir able to come over the top. It was a little bit like it was still pretty close with those last few, and I think Miller held on for 1 point. It wasn't all for nothing, but it wasn't the 3 he was looking for.
Yeah, so Hexagon in a tie there because they already had 1 point. So that ties Wahoo Lecole. Just Mir picking up those 3 there. Now the next sprint, this is pivotal. 6 points waiting there, right, Nathan? So winning that one gives you double what we've distributed, well, or the top team has gathered up to this point. So Hexagon and Wahoo Lecole tied at 3 right now. But believe me, we're shifting gears. Daniel Turek attacking now. So Turek, another one of the powerhouse riders on this next team. And this is going to be interesting. Who takes the bait here, Nathan?
Oh, man, this is insane. I mean, well, the bait is set here as Turek goes off the front, and this is a setup here for the rest of the next team. And I think next, they've been waiting for this moment. They sent a couple off the front here early on. They sacrificed a little bit there for Brune. Now they're sending Turek off the front, a little bit for Near as well. But now look at Duffy Jr. set up perfectly right around the top 20. He's waiting for a big sprint, I think, here. Look at him down to 0.2 watts per kilogram, sitting in reference a moment there. That tells you everything you need to know about what Duffy Jr. is up to. You made that prediction, I think, prior to the race here that he would be a big name in here. There's 6 points over the top. That's the most points anybody can score besides the finish line. A single rider for 6 points, as well as the other 3 spots, 4, 2, and 1. This is going to be one of the biggest moments of the entire race today.
I think this is going to be a historic moment in esports history. It's going to be mental chicken oriental out here. Huge points. Everything happens here. Now, you're not going to win this race on the sprint, but you're going to put every other team, and I say sprint, it's Temple KOM that we're going for. It will be a sprint with the way these guys are racing. They're basically on esport motorcycles out here right now. I mean, these speeds are bananas. And Nathan, this is going to be one of the coolest sprints that we've ever had a chance to witness. The setup here is going to be monumental. We're 4.4 kilometers away from that moment. And I mean, every name up there. I mean, it's like the ring of fame that we have in esports right now. Eddie Uhl is there. Tepalori is there. Leonard Tugels making his way up to the front. Vidar Mel is there. Ricardo Panizza is there. Kjell Power. Kjell Power is so strong. Mikael Plantero, the French rider there on Hexagon. Oh, and there's your attack. Daniel Turk goes again. So clearly this is their game plan, Nathan. They're trying to get Turk out in front like a rabbit and hope that the other riders try to bring him back and set up Brian Duffy Jr. That's my call. Back to you, Nathan.
Now, remember what happened the last time we saw Leonard Tugels on the Temple KOM. Now, don't forget, everyone, if you don't know the Temple KOM, this one is extremely interesting. You're going to be taking this turn onto some dirt here in just a moment, and it is going to be bananas. These guys might be getting away with a little bit of something, but the kind of climbing we're going to see 7, 8, 9 watts per kilogram, maybe even an average of over 7 watts per kilogram for the duration of it. Martin Meriton's here now getting away at 7.2. They may even give him this leash knowing that they might be able to bring something back. Now, if they get enough to work with here on time, perhaps they will not be taught, but the reality of the pure climbers coming through and for them being eliminated, you might find a situation where 4 riders, 5, 6 riders get away, and everybody else goes, enough is enough. I'm not chasing this. I'm saving for later. Daniel Turk giving us a little wave for a moment there. Here, is this actually a replay of the wave? There it is. He just made a little bit of attack actually off the front, and he says goodbye with that wave for a moment, Dave, but it looks like the pack are letting them go.
That was not to you or me. That was to Daniel Turek, I think. So, yeah, everybody waving now. Oh, man. Nathan, the power of this peloton is going to be immense, and there you go. It looks like we're going to see another shutdown happening. Well, I don't want to get out in front of myself here, but there's so much is in play here in the next few K with all of these teams here. I don't even know. The only riders who aren't in this peloton, by my guess, I might be wrong by 1 or 2, but I think, Nathan, the only riders that have been eliminated have been the ones picking up points. We're not dropping riders. The difference in ability level is so small amongst these athletes. That's why we were talking about how important the directors sportives are, having a strategy and tactics that you're able to execute that makes sense. Well, it's going to be critical today. And clearly next, I wonder who they've got behind the virtual wheel today. Clearly they're pulling the strings like a master puppeteer. Okay, onto the dirt. Here we go. Back to you, Nathan.
Left-hand turn onto the dirt as Turk still has a 3.3 second gap. Joe Perot on the front there. The world's qualifier for Belgium, actually, from over the weekend, leading things out, but I have a feeling in just a moment. It is a little downhill for a second, flat downhill 4%, and then it kicks up into the first steady gradients. Nothing really intense up front, but usually right from the start of these gradients, you usually see a roll-through speed, and riders kick immediately to try and put a little bit of a gap on anybody who's trying to sit on a wheel. You get that immediate gap, and a lot of times that will help a lot to not give any advantage to anyone else as you climb at your steady pace or insane pace to stay for these guys. Tugels toward the front at 5.4, not really on the attack just yet as Eddie Uhl goes to the front. 7.4 watts per kilogram coming from the Cryo RDT rider as they're about to chase down Turk.
Leonard Tugels can make 4.5 watts while he's having breakfast, Nathan. So that means he's just getting warmed up at this point. So this is the first sprint, Temple KOM, where we go 4 deep in the scoring. 6, 4, 2, and 1. It's also the first time that we have a gap larger than 1 point between places, but Turk shut down. And you can see it's a mix of teams. So nobody is right now wanting to let anyone get any kind of gap here. Back to the front. So active out here today has been Eddie Uhl. Leonard Tugels is right there. Stefan van Alst has now moved forward. But Duffy Jr., very ominous for me, Nathan, that he never falls further than a dozen places back in this group. Mateus de Roos, there's a name to watch.
This climb really changes up the entirety race from this middle point on. How this plays out and how many riders hang on with this group, whether or not a group goes up ahead and then eliminates riders that grab the points, or if it all stays together into a whittled down peloton that sprint for it, is going to tell this story a lot, because riders that are a little bit more pure sprinters could hang into a peloton. As Eddie Ullina makes the move, we were expecting this. Alvarado, Tugels, Barnes goes with it as well. Now the question is, will the peloton settle and say, let those go, that's who we want to stay involved here? Or is this going to be a situation where everyone tries to stay involved and grab as many points as they possibly can for their team at the top here? Whoever can take it, take it. It looks like that's more of what's going to play out here. I'm not sure we're going to end up with a select group, but 4 being removed from this, Dave, if we do end up with a select group of 10 or so, and then there's only 6 left, the main peloton's going to bring them back, and those 6, Dave, are then going to be absolutely demolished after trying to hang on to the front 4 that take it. So it's a big risk to put these matches on the line right now.
Watch out for the Chilean Condor. That is Alvarado. But again, I'm going to go back to my original pick, and that is Brian Duffy Jr. There are 6 points here, same as at the finish. It's worth it now to throw down. Eddie Ull is omnipresent on the front. You just cannot shake him. Martin Mertens is moving up now. We do have it looks like a split has happened in that group, Nathan. We've lost a few riders definitely out of this group. So yes, look at the sides of this split. Holy cow, this is a huge moment happening right now. Ollie Jones to the front. Lucas Anaska is there. Nathan, we're down to about 750 meters until a critical juncture. Esport history is going to be made on this one, and the Chilean Condor has spread his wings.
19 riders have made this, but here goes Adrian Alvarado now. Wahoo Lacole with a feather power, perfectly timed, making the last-ditch effort. 500 meters. Tugel's trying to come across. Tugel's coming up to 12 watts per kilogram. This is the final kick. Left-hand turn, and then they can see the finish line coming up to them, but 12 watts per kilogram. Tugel saved it all for this moment as he comes through. The roll-through, is it there? Alvarado's got speed, but Tugel's right on the wheel here as he comes flying through. Tugel saved it for this moment. Aero power up on top of it. He's starting to walk away with this one. It looks like Tugels was the man for the 6 points. They planned it perfectly. Abel Sokol taking top points. Now for second, Alvarado trying to hang on, but Martin Mertens coming on through as Tugels takes top points. Martin Mertens for second. Alvarado just barely, no, he doesn't. He gets nipped at the line, I believe. We'll have to wait and see. Eddie Ull and Brian Duffy Jr. And after all of that, Adrian Alvarado grabs no points and is still in the race and a part of this leftover group that's straggling into the next sprint.
As riders score points, they are eliminated. We got to let the dust settle to see exactly who is still here. Unbelievable action going on right now on the McCurry Islands. So did Duffy Jr. miss out, and is this now a counterattack over the top of that? Because they're going to be full gas now to the next sprint. So let's see what we've got. Nathan, that was incredible how it went back and forth. So
Priority T taking 7 points, it looks like. Abel Sokol for 6. Hexabon presented by SAR is currently tied with Wahoo Lacole for those 3 points there. Movistar E-Team have 2. Callus Esport presented by Wahoo Burke, and Next Esport presented by Short with 1. That point coming from Brian Duffy Jr., who just came through at the end there with that 1 point. Duffy Jr. is now removed from the race. Where are their next big ones coming here? It's a big split now between the back riders and this front peloton.
He would have been better to not take that point, Nathan. Would have been definitely better to not take that point and save himself for later in the race. We're going to take a look at a replay here, but I honestly think he should have pulled the pin on that.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, at a certain point, it's grabbing those points from Alvarado, trying to come through on Eddie Ull. I think you might be right. We'll have to see what their plans are for later on. As there's the 4, Alvarado just missing out, and now he's still involved in the race here. They still have Adrian Alvarado to deal with, but has he completely wasted himself on that KOM? Because the eliminations coming up here in just a moment. Alley sprint eliminations in just a moment. The graphic there, it has 1 elimination for the alley sprint earlier, I believe is what we're looking at there. The next one's going to be the tower sprint reverse. Top 5 riders, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Alvarado did that. He actually pulled himself out because he didn't want to take the minuscule point available. He makes, Nathan, 15.6 watts per kilo. He's in the top 6 riders on power for 15 seconds. He knows that he can get more points later. It's not worth it for them to take the one now, leaving 3, 4, 5, 6 points for the finish on the table. I honestly think that Alvarado just said, I'm going to just kind of slide out the back here if there's not going to be big points. I think that was a really smart play.
Huh, well, that may be the case. That may be the case. If he's got something left in the tank at the end here, we'll see if he's got a repeatable effort. I mean, that could absolutely be. And the reality is, I think you might be right, too, in the fact that just making it over the top here in this elite group here at this point, a lot of these riders will have put down similar efforts, at least to be in this group. So perhaps he is not too low on chips. He's not too low on the energy tank because of the reality of what you got to do just to be here amongst these other riders. So that's a really good point, Dave. We'll see if Alvarado still has something left to give at the end to grab more points than that one.
Let me put it this way, Nathan. If you could give 1 point back and get Brian Duffer Jr. back in this group, would you do it? If you're next, I would.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure about. I'm not sure on that one. For Duffy Jr., I'm not absolutely positive. I have a feeling that next have enough in the bank here, as we have a little bit of attack here coming from Sagabrook off the front at 13.5 watts per kilogram. Is he going to be able to hold on to this? It'll be interesting because Coalition haven't been able to score a whole lot of points. I think this is to try and maybe bait out an attack here, or at least a chase from the main group to ramp things up, because this is a really, really high speed section through here. Perhaps that they can roll through another rider once it flattens out.
Joachim Leeson is still in this group. So riders eliminated as they score points. That means we haven't seen Simon Nordhall Svensson score yet. He's still out there. Martin Lindqvist, who's the only rider who makes into the 17 watts per kilo. He's almost at 18 watts per kilo. Talking about Martin Lindqvist out here. So there's some huge, the biggest engines in the sport are back in that peloton. So I respect for the game here. Spencer Segovich has attacked a couple of times. And Canyons, I have a feeling they're trying to set up Ollie Jones or Kiel Power. But who knows right now? It's really, but this to me is a setup move. Not at 5.2K. It could go either way. But the Tower Sprint reverse that we've got coming, Nathan, I have a feeling this is a setup.
Dawson trying to go across, it looks like. He doesn't have a whole lot of space on the main pack here at this point. That maybe he is just trying to make a little bit of work here for WLC. Now a jump, though, real quickly there from Leeson. And Joachim Leeson is going, Dave. This is a rider who does not risk anything unless he is all in. I race against Joachim often, and Joachim is one of the most patient riders I've ever seen in esports. No joke. This guy has waited exactly for this moment. He's timed it perfectly for this to see if he can get away. If he does not, he will back off immediately, as you can see, 4.8 watts per kilogram, and goes right back into the pack. He only uses what he needs to. But now, Vyasen off the front, as we are seeing, Coalition is continually on the attack. We'll see if the Duck can get away.
That was a test attack that he was looking just to kind of spark it, and there he did. As Lionel Vyasen goes, and that is a big benefit for some of his teammates, that's for sure, because Canyon just keeps throwing riders up the loan. Coalition, I should say, keeps throwing riders up the loan. Now we see the Australian who made the world's team for Australia as well, Josh Harris there up the front. Harburg has been just champing at the bit now, Nathan. The Swedish Swifter has been riding on the front, covering just about everything that moves. There's the big swarm that we see here. So inside of 4K, let's talk quickly about Tower Sprint Reverse, as this is linear from 5 down to 1. So it's a 5-place sprint. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 points will be distributed, and it just ratchets up. So that's going to be Christopher Dawson, who's been all over the front, but it's now Power, the Belgian rider. Kiel Power has hit out. So that's the third Coalition rider, Nathan, to attack in the last 2K.
Yeah, and Tower Sprint's coming up in 3.5K, and he's got a solid 1 second. This one could work with the dirt section here. If the pack does not ramp things up on the front, Dawson jumps right on there. He's got 2 seconds, and since the dirt does travel slower and it's harder to draft through here, these big punches from the group will get immediate gaps. So you're seeing Paroko across here. Plantero is looking to go with it as well. They've got a solid second there from that chase. We'll see if it all comes back together. I have a feeling this pack being reduced as it is, I think there's only 25 or so left here. You don't want to let a split go too much because you might be completely out of the race. Noren now over the top as the speed's reduced from that immediate chase. There's a counterattack, and Noren's got a 1 second gap. Will anybody go with it here?
Well, I tell you what, Nathan, this is Johan Noren that we're talking about. When you get these Vikings all rowing together in the boat, it's dangerous. And there you go, Ollie Jones attacking over the top. Ollie Jones is hit out with authority. Nathan, this is his signature move.
Yeah, with an arrow power up and an immediate 2 second gap. That gap did not go up slowly, Dave. It was immediately 2, 3 seconds, 12 watts per kilogram. He must have been doing almost 60 kilometers per hour with that arrow power up, and that gap is insurmountable without a few riders working together. Everybody watches it. Look at it. 3.5, he's almost out of sight. They sit up and go, Jones is gone. It's going to have to be a concerted effort to break this back because with 2K to go, Dave, I think Jones might have with us in the bag. Vidar Mail now for Movistar E-Team, the response has to happen quickly. They let too much time with not enough landscape to work with. It's gone. Vidar Mail now says, okay, I'm going to work for this.
The last time I said that Ollie had it in the bag, they actually were able to make the catch, so I don't want to jinx him here. But this is a supreme Jamrozic. Now Jamrozic is gone, but it's going to be 5 seconds. I think it might be, well, it's going to be interesting, Nathan. We don't have a whole lot of racing left here. 2 more opportunities to score points. This is Daniel Jamrozic going absolutely ballistic. He looks like he's at a disco in Warsaw right now.
Yeah, Jamrozic kicked the 10 real quickly there to try and bring this back. I think he is going to make the juncture here, but it is getting a lot of response from the rest of the pack here. Planthero, Nair, L'Oreal. And here's the reason why, Dave. The reason why there's not a lot of points up for grabs for the rest of this race, right? There's only 3 more sprints, and now they're all saying, wait a second, we don't have enough bodies in order to get enough points out of all of this with how many riders that are still involved here. We got to start taking the risk, and Nair goes over the top. We're talking about breakaway specialist after breakaway specialist with 1.5K to go, and Nair is now got a solid second over the rest of the pack.
We've seen Zach pull this move off time and time again. It looks like coming up fast, though, is going to be Plantereau. So this is certainly not over. Zach Nair coming up, though. Nathan, I'll throw it to you. Can Nair pull it off?
I think Nair just pulled it off easily there. He's got the gap, and it's going to be 2 seconds over the top. There's 1. Now 2 is Harris. 3 is Plantereau, and 4 goes to Jammers, it looks like. Pulling that one off, and then the last one through, Partridge Madison. So, Zach Nair, Josh Harris, Jam Rosick, Plantereau, and Partridge Madison. Look at this, Dave. Something we have not seen. Team Arrow on the board. Great to see from them. They're starting to make their name here in this format. Looks like they're loving it.
Yeah, we've only got a little over 2K until the finish. That's 5 total points for them, though. It'll be interesting to see where that puts them on the table. So let's talk about the finish now. It scores 6 deep in linear order. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 points. That's all that remains. There's only crumbs on the table here. If you finish outside the top 3, there's your attack. It's the Italians, and it's Gaffuri saying ciao bellos.
Yeah, Gaffuri now 1.7K to go to a finish line now at this point, and it's going to be Gaffuri followed up by Alvarado and Barnes maybe not really putting any kind of effort here. Gaffuri, the Italian, might be gone. The pace has been so incredibly high, Dave. I wonder if the pack just says, look, we got to rest up for the next sprint. We can't chase anything any longer.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to go all in now. This is 1.4K to go. The Italians are not really dominating on the board, that's for sure. So I'm not sure with 5 points for second place if maybe they're willing to let this go, Nathan. Is that even possible? 1.2K to go. The advantage at 5.9 seconds. So it's looking pretty likely that Gaffuri's going to hold on and take top bonification at the finish. I'm not sure exactly what's happening out here, but looks like that's the case.
Yeah, no, it looks like, though, the Alvarado on the front there for just a moment. Leeson as well. Pro now attacking. There's attacks over and over again off the front, but they start looking at each other after. And Pro now at 9.5 watts per kilogram with the invisibility here. Viasin at 6.3 sitting in momentarily here. It looks like Pro at 9 watts per kilogram trying to bring this back. It's 4 seconds behind now. Gaffuri here off the front here. He still had the arrow power up in reserve. And it looks like everybody's going to watch Gaffuri stay away, but Pro continues on at 9 watts per kilogram. It's going to be a left-hand turn with 600 meters. Sagerbrook kicks from the main pack with the arrow power up, knowing that 6 points is up the line. That's the lead up for the rest of his men here, perhaps, or they're just going to let Sagerbrook go. 400 meters, trying to hold on. It's coming down so quickly, though. It's right there, right in front of Gafuri. 7 watts per kilogram, trying to hold on. It's still coming down, though, with Perot and Sagerbrook on the chase. But I think Gafuri has done it. He's going to take 6 points for Team Italy now. But, oh, no, excuse me. Now here comes Sagerbrook, though, over the top of Perot. Sagerbrook just holding on. Joe Perot unable to do it. Right at the line, though. Overtaken by Barnes. James Barnes grabs the second place points with DeVries, Leeson, Hammond, and Sagerbrook for the last place. He was off the front for so long with Joe Perot making the catch right at the line, but no, the pack swarms. Only Gafuri rewarded for that 1K to go breakaway. Dave, what an amazing nail biting from the get-go, non-stop attack. Dave, you said in pre-production that this would be some of the best racing that we'd ever see, and you couldn't have been more correct. That was absolutely, as you would say, a Donnybrook Royal Rumble that we just watched.
Yeah, wow. So every week we have a new format out here. They're working on the points right now, and there they are, Nathan.
Next, esports presented by Ensure, sneaking up later in the race, grabbing points like crazy at the end there. As you can see, Abel's Nicole tied with Priority T, but will take the second place points there for the way that they scored the points throughout. Priority T now in third. Hexagon presented by Star with a really good ride actually out there today. They were a little bit lower down in the overalls coming on in. Team Caselli presented by Elite, they come in for fifth place, and it was only that final kick to the line from Gafuri staying away that was able to grab them those 6 points. Team Arrow get on the board now, it looks like, for a sixth place. That's a big one for them, as they were sitting in last with 0, so they are now going to start making their way up the leaderboard. And it's going to be Wahoo Lacole way back in 7th. Interesting situation there for Wahoo Lacole. Velocio right there in 8th with 3 points. Movistar E-Team in 9th with 2 points. Coalition Alpha so incredibly aggressive, but when it came to the line for the points and the timings, didn't quite work out for them. They were able to really break things apart, but they ended up being the workhorses for the other teams to take advantage of it, is what it looked like to me today. 11th place will be for Callis Esports, presented by Wahoo Burke. And Team Swiss Drifters, Dave, this is really interesting. One of the most tactical, conservative teams that tend to work together as a team to get their points as much as they possibly can, maybe not taking the top spots each and every time. But today, that conservatism definitely didn't work out for them, as they only were sending 1 or 2 up the road over and over again.
As they say, there are horses for courses. And I mean, if you look at it, Simon Nordhall Svensson, Nathan, with the Kalish Esport team, he was dominant in the sprinting that we saw a few weeks ago, going back before our mid-season break here. I would have bet, just watching that he would have picked up 6 points by himself today, winning sprint 4, the finish sprint today. Not the case. So you can see incredibly spirited racing, and nothing from the first half of the season was written in stone as far as what we're going to see in the second half of the season here. So there is a lot in play, and you can see some teams that hadn't had success in the first few weeks. A great example is that Aero team. I really want to tip my cap to them. It would have been easy for them, Nathan, after 3 races with really not being able to wet their beak. They didn't wet their beak. They took a big drink at the well today. And I realize that they're not going to climb to the top of the table,